hooking you with a hot take. Streaming hype is back, and this lineup proves streaming services aren't just dumping leftovers, they're curating mini film festivals in your living room. Today we're unpacking a fresh batch of titles landing on Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Peacock, and I'm going to call out the trends, the surprises, and what it all means for how we watch movies at home. Let's set the stage. The big idea here is, streaming platforms are battling for attention with a mix of sequels, genre thrills, and high-concept bets that feel tailor-made for binge and argue with your friends viewing. Personally, I think this mix reveals how services are leveraging nostalgia, genre bits, and audience-specific hooks to keep viewers switching between apps instead of cooking a new dinner. What makes this really interesting is how many entries lean into subgenres: time travel, dystopian AI, dance MLE classics turned action thrillers, demonstrating a deliberate strategy to press emotional buttons across diverse groups. First wave of takeaways, we're seeing a reimagined cult attraction model. Anaconda gets a modern remake vibe, and Mercy puts us in a near-future trial by AI frame. From my perspective, these aren't just remakes or gimmicks, they're experiments in how familiar premises feel through modern tech and societal fears. One thing that immediately stands out is the branding of nostalgia with a new twist. You know the names, you click because you're curious how the updated setting changes the payoff. If you take a step back and think about it, this is less about fear of the unknown and more about fear of repeating past mistakes unless we interrogate them with fresh lenses. Second idea, the streaming slate is heavy on original docs and niche storytelling. Billy Idol Should Be Dead and 1000 Women of Horror suggest services are doubling down on identity-era storytelling, celebrating iconic figures and underrepresented voices. What many people don't realize is that these documentaries aren't just fan service, they're ways to anchor a platform's identity in real-world culture, turning passive viewing into ongoing conversations. What this really suggests is that discovery is evolving from what's new to what story matters now, which has big implications for viewer loyalty and creator alignments. Third, we're getting high-concept thrillers that feel tailor-made for short attention spans. Mercy, with an AI judge and a ticking clock, reads like a cinematic version of a courtroom thriller meets sci-fi. In my opinion, the pacing of these movies is designed for streaming, compact, high stakes, and repeatable, so you can press play again immediately after the credits, or debate with friends about the AI ethics questions it raises. From my perspective, this signals a broader trend towards cinematic experiences that feel like interactive debates rather than passive narratives. Now let's break down some standout entries and why they're interesting beyond surface-level vibes. Anaconda, Netflix. The concept lands as a meta-commentary on remakes. A director and actor revisit their youth favorite, only to collide with a literal big monster twist. What's fascinating here is the meta-narrative about nostalgia itself. The movie uses its own premise to probe how filmmakers chase authenticity when the original is a product of a different era. A detail I find captivating is how the film uses the Amazon backdrop to amplify stakes, geography becoming character and threat, which is a classic thriller move repackaged for streaming's intimate scale. Mercy, Prime Video. The 90-minute countdown to an potentially unjust end is a classic thriller device, but pairing it with an AI adjudicator reframes the courtroom arc as a human versus system showdown. What this really suggests is a critique of algorithmic governance, how we authorize life and death decisions when evading bias remains a moving target. What people don't realize is that the AI element isn't just sci-fi flair, it's a mirror for real-world concerns about due process in a data-driven world. If you're watching with friends, this movie becomes a debate spark about justice, technology, and what reasonable doubt even means when machines weigh the scales. Billy Idol Should Be Dead, Hulu. This is a narrative about resilience and reinvention, which doubles as a case study in how archival stories travel across platforms. What this really highlights is a streaming-era appetite for archival access paired with new storytelling leadership. A detail I find fascinating is how the documentary leverages iconic moments in rock history to chart a path through personal reinvention, suggesting that pop cultural legacies are not static, but ongoing conversations, perfect for a platform that thrives on shareable clips and multi-part exploration. 1000 Women of Horror, Shudder. This one leans into historical recentering, celebrating women behind the horror genre, and spotlighting filmmakers who shaped it under visible. What makes this noteworthy is its potential to shift audience perceptions of what horror can be when you foreground diverse voices. If you take a step back, it's not just a documentary, it's a curatorial move that positions Shudder as a home for critical conversations about genre evolution, inviting viewers to rethink what they watch and why. Zootopia 2, Disney+, the return to a beloved animated world isn't just about more jokes, it's about continuity in a world where IP is the main currency. What stands out here is how Disney leverages established characters to explore timely issues under a lighter, family-friendly lens. A detail I find fascinating is the way this sequel could balance political allegory with kids' humor, an approach that's increasingly common in mainstream animation as studios chase cross-generational audiences. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, Netflix, a film in the Shelby universe that promises to weave personal reckoning with historical peril. From my point of view, this is less about chasing the old mob vibe and more about using a known brand to explore legacy, forgiveness, and the cost of crime in a changing world. What this really suggests is that streaming platforms are willing to invest in long-form character studies wrapped in familiar lore, a strategy for deepening engagement beyond episodic viewing. Ballerina and Pretty Lethal, these entries remind us that action-centric streaming titles are still a major draw. Pretty Lethal, with its tense ensemble of dancers facing a dangerous conspiracy, plays into the growing trend of female-led genre pooling where performance intersects with peril. The takeaway, athletic, stylish thrillers centered on strong female leads are increasingly credible, bankable, and binge-worthy in a streaming-first ecosystem. What this reveals about the bigger trend, the streaming landscape is less about random releases and more about a deliberate ecosystem where nostalgia, representation, and high-concept thrills coexist. The business logic is simple: diversify through familiar IP, invest in creator-driven docs, and push cinematic ideas that feel native to the streaming format, short, sharp, and highly shareable. This is how platforms keep you from ghosting them for a rival service on a Friday night. Closing thought: as viewers, our job is to decide what matters to us, nostalgia, learning, or pure adrenaline, and who we trust to curate those experiences. If you're building a watch list, think less about chasing the next big blockbuster, and more about what conversations you want to have after the credits roll. So tell me, which of these titles do you want to watch first, and what question about the future of streaming does it spark for you? I'm curious to hear your takes and the angles you think deserve more exploration.